Are Premier League attacks really living off set pieces? This study compares two seasons, the full 2024-25 Premier League season and the 2025-26 season through March 22nd, 2026. The core question is simple. How much of a team's attack comes from set pieces? And more importantly, how sustainable is that dependence? The main metric is set-piece share of non-penalty expected goals. In other words, we measure how much of a team's non-penalty XG comes from corners, indirect free kicks, and direct free kicks. Penalties are excluded from the core dependence metric because they are too noisy and too heavily shaped by refereeing events and isolated moments. But dependence alone is not enough. A team can score few hot goals from dead balls without having a truly repeatable process. So the study also builds a support score. That score rewards set-piece XG volume per match, rewards production that is spread across matches, and penalizes hot finishing that may not last. That gives us the distinction between style and short-term results. If the chances keep showing up, the process is real. If the goals are outrunning the chance quality, regression risk is higher. Now let's look at the league map for the 2024-2025 season. League-wide, set pieces accounted for 21.3% of non-penalty XG. The most dependent teams were Arsenal, Forest, Everton, and Aston Villa. Arsenal also stood out as the strongest combination of dependence and support. That matters because it suggests Arsenal were not just living off finishing spikes. They were producing repeatable set-piece threat with real process behind it. At the same time, some teams looked more fragile. They had high dependence but weaker support. That is the difference between a team that owns a system and a team riding a short-term wave. Now move to the 2025-2026 map. The first big takeaway is league-wide change. Set-piece share of non-penalty XG rose from 21.3% to 24.5%. So across the league, dead ball attacks became a bigger part of the offensive mix. The most dependent teams in the current season are Newcastle at 36.5%, West Ham at 35.1%, Wolves at 33.3%, Tottenham at 30.8%, and Arsenal at 28.7%. But dependence is only half the story. The best supported set-piece attacks are Arsenal, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. That means those teams are not just getting goals. They are generating repeatable set-piece XG across matches. This is where interpretation becomes important. Newcastle and Arsenal look like strong examples of real, sustainable set-piece process. Tottenham and Wolves, on the other hand, show high reliance, but with more fragility underneath. The style is visible, but the support is not as strong. The next question is the real sustainability test. Does set-piece performance carry over from one season to the next? For returning Premier League teams, set-piece expected goals per match had a Pearson correlation of 0.49 from one season to the next. Set-piece goals per match had a much weaker carryover at 0.24, and the support score carried over even better at 0.61. That is the key result of the study. The repeatable part of set-piece attacking lies more in creating the chances than in converting every chance into goals. Chance generation travels better than finishing. Process survives better than raw output. Now let's look at movement. Which teams changed their set-piece dependence the most? The biggest riser was Newcastle, up 18.0 percentage points, from 18.5 to 36.5%. West Ham rose by 15.9 points. Wolves rose by 14.0. Tottenham rose by 10.6, and Fulham also posted a notable increase. On the other side, Forest showed the biggest drop, down 9.6 percentage points. Everton and Manchester United each fell by 2.3 points. Crystal Palace fell by 2.0. This tells us that dependence is not fixed. Teams can meaningfully change how much of their attack runs through set pieces. But that shift alone does not prove sustainability. The support layer still decides whether the style looks stable or fragile. There is also an important finishing warning in the current season. Manchester United are running about 2.7 goals above their set-piece XG. Tottenham are about plus 2.4. Liverpool are about plus 2.0. Those numbers do not mean these teams are bad at set pieces. They mean some of the current output is being helped by finishing that may cool off faster than the underlying chance creation. So what is the final verdict? Some Premier League teams clearly own a repeatable set-piece process. Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa show the kind of support profile that suggests real structure, not just temporary finishing heat. At the same time, several current leaders in set-piece dependence look more fragile. Tottenham and Wolves stand out there. The attack mix is clearly leaning towards set pieces, but the support underneath is weaker, so the risk of regression is higher. There is also an under-rewarded group. Teams like Brentford, Newcastle, Burnley, and Everton are creating set-piece opportunities without fully cashing them in. That can matter going forward, because underfinished process can be more interesting than already overheated output. The main conclusion is clear. Set pieces are becoming a bigger part of Premier League attacks, but the sustainable signal is not the raw goal count. It is the chance creation behind it. So when judging whether a team is truly living off set pieces, start with set piece XG volume. Then check how well that production is spread across matches. And only after that, look at the goals. Process first. Finishing second. That is where the real signal lives.